One thing that's happening right now, individually and collectively, is grief. We are all feeling grief. It doesn't matter if we lost someone recently, if we went through a breakup, if we let go of an old part of our lives, an old job. It doesn't matter what it is. We're all collectively at the same time feeling a major sense of grief. We're not only grieving people from our lives, we're not only grieving, old things that we lived in, we're not only grieving our old careers, we're also grieving our old selves. There's a way that we used to be that's dying right now. There's a story that you have been that's ready to go. One of the reasons for this is we're moving to a higher level of consciousness that's here. And part of its job is to release the old self. And in our body is an old story. In our body is an old way that you lived. It doesn't matter if it's the victim you, if it's the achiever you, if it's the motivated you, if it's the whatever, the family unit, the story of what you were before now. Right now, we live in a time where all of us are grieving. And one thing that can help you is to know that we're all going through it. One of the things that makes grieving really hard is when we trick ourselves to thinking, I'm all alone in this. I'm the only one that feels this way. And it's really easy to feel that way because you could look at someone else's social media and go, that person is so happy. But I promise you, all of us, myself included, are grieving right now. We're grieving ideas that we thought were going to become something. We're grieving parts of ourselves that no longer serve us. We're all grieving. It's almost every day that I find myself releasing some tears, and it's our job to allow this grieving to happen. A lot of times our ego gets in the way and tries to stop the grieving. It's almost like it's negotiating with the grieving. It's doing everything it can to stop it from happening. But that part of you that's trying to stop it is going to be grieved too. The reason is the true essence of you is here in the now. And it's doing everything it can to release an old self that you created as a protective mechanism so you wouldn't get hurt when you were a kid, to make room for the real you to show up. The God you, the universal you, is trying to work through you. And to do that, it needs to remove all the distortion that's in your body that no longer serves you. The good news is quite a bit of us are in that process. And when some people grieve, it makes room for more people to grieve. Imagine what's being purged as a collective consciousness. And as the consciousness rises, it makes it easier and more normalized to grieve. So it's time to grieve. It's time to say goodbye to what we were. It's time to realize we can't go back to that story. Whether someone you know passed away, whether you're going through a breakup, or whether you are purging something in yourself, it's time to embrace grief because we're going to be grieving for a while. We're going to be grieving the way we thought things were going to be. We're going to be grieving our expectations. We're going to be grieving what we used to give authority to. We're going to be grieving our old power was in something else. I promise you that even though this is painful, the more we allow the grief, the easier this will be. And the longer we allow this grief to come through, the more we make room for a new version of what we truly are, a powerful version, a synchronistic version, a magical version, a miraculous version of ourselves. But for that to happen, it has to release what we were in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Maybe those served a purpose at that time and they were something we needed to experience. But now it's time to experience a new version of who we truly are. That was the 20th Century Fox beginning. Anyway, get ready for something new and something magical. It's time to grieve, and it's time for us to all grieve together. We need each other in this time. It's time to hold each other. It's time for us to say out loud things we feel. Maybe we need to just say, I miss you. Maybe we need to just say, I'm scared. Because one thing that's going to help grieving happen is to say what you feel. It's almost like we're here to collectively release blame and not just say, they did that to me, but instead move into our heart and say, I feel lost. I feel scared. I feel lack. And finally see the true inner child that's on the other side of the grieving. I'm so excited to work with you in this. And I'm happy to announce that this morning, Sunday, we are going to be doing a guided meditation for grief on the Absolutely Everything Pass. And if you're seeing this video after that meditation happened, just so you know, the replay is available. If you want to join us, we'd love to have you. And if not, just take in the idea that you're not alone in this. There is a collective grieving happening in one way or another in every single one of us. And I'm so excited to be with you in this time and know that we have a way to virtually and literally hold each other as we say goodbye to every aspect of what we used to be in order to make room for what we are. Happy grieving.